Aidan is a really outstanding writer and has written 2 books on the Jain faith and actually relating this timeless wisdom of India to contemporary life and issues about political economy and society. Aidan, can you talk to us about what motivated you to write about the Jains?
Well, first of all, thank you very much, Atul, and good luck with the Masala tour, which I think is an excellent project, and very much related to what I'm trying to do in these books, in a sense. I think that the Jain philosophy had been in the back of my mind for many years, and because it seemed to represent a more harmonious, more balanced and more rational relationship between humanity and the rest of the natural world than we were used to in the West. The idea that you should do everything that you can to avoid harm to others. I mean, whether those others are fellow humans, fellow creatures, the non-human world, or even natural resources. That seemed to me a very powerful idea whose time has come, not at the spiritual level and at the political and cultural level as well. So, as I've said, ever since I first heard of Jainism in early childhood, and when I heard about it then, it was mostly the the stereotypical images of the monks and nuns who cover their faces and sweep a small brush in front of them. That was my first image. But I knew about the reverence for life underlying that, and wanted to explore that further. And actually you come into this, Atul, because just at the time when I was beginning to explore it, I met you by coincidence in Watkins' book in Cecil Court, near the National Gallery in Trafalgar Square, and you were promoting Jain Spirit, so it was a kind of synchronicity, and that led me not only to explore Jainism further, but to write some articles for Jain Spirit, which was your excellent magazine. And I then decided that there was very little, in fact nothing written in English about Jainism apart from at the what I would call the narrowly academic level. So I wanted to write a book that would address the many spiritual seekers that there are in the Western world today, and that's why I called my first book on Jainism Ancient Wisdom for the West, because all the ideas in Jainism address our present concerns with ecology and with social justice and with creating a more, as I indicated earlier, a more balanced attitude towards the natural world, a sort of a lighter way of living on Earth, and a realization that it's not only human wishes, whether humans collectively or individual humans, it's not only human wishes that count. We're part of something much larger than ourselves.
Thank you. Your next book was on the phenomenon of pluralism and many-sided wisdom. You called it Many-Sided Wisdom, a new politics of the spirit. Can you explain a little bit about that book and what its central message is?
Yes, the starting point for that book is the Jain idea of Anikant or Anikantavada, which means many-sidedness, or more literally non-one-sidedness. It means avoiding dogmatic certainty, and paradoxically, if you avoid that dogmatic certainty, you come closer to a universal truth. So it recognizes that everyone, every human being, every sentient creature is on a journey to the truth, is moving towards the truth in some way. They might not be fully aware of that process. It might take them many years or indeed many lifetimes to complete, but they're all on the same journey. I mean, one analogy that's frequently given is, and which I mention in my book, is people walking or climbing a mountain, and there are some paths which go straight up to the summit, there are others which are sort of curved and crooked, but they all are leading towards the same place. People arrive at them at different times, and in a sense that is the Jain idea of many-sidedness. Or if you look at a cut diamond through different facets, you are seeing the same light ultimately, but just from a different angle. So it's recognizing all these different angles, making up a whole picture, and to me that's one of the most important lessons of Jainism today, because we live in a world where there is a much wider exchange between cultures, between different ways of life, between different ways of thinking. So if we can recognize the truth in not only in our own way of thinking but in others, and realize that we're on the same spiritual path, that is a starting point.
Thank you. I mean, the aim of the Masala tour is actually very similar to what you have written in your books, but the extra dimension here is that we are actually pointing to living communities which live by these ancient values and wisdom here in 21st century Britain, and actually have effectively set an excellent example in society in terms of their health, their diet,
yes,
the way they run their businesses, their ethics,
yes,
and also how they build communities, build social capital, and provide leadership and direction in the communities where they live and work. And as a result of these kinds of actions, what we find is that the British government is saving a lot of money in terms of mental health, is saving a lot of money in terms of social breakdown, because they are actually bringing families together and keeping the society together. And actually, as a country, we are improving the health of the nation. The doctors working in the NHS, for example, the Indian doctors, and so on. So what we see is that these ideas are being lived, that they are not just theories in textbooks, but they are actually being lived. And what we have a huge opportunity for is to now awaken the British media and the British elites, if you like, the policymakers, the politicians, to the reality of these solutions right in their backyard. So the work that you have done is going to help us extremely in doing that. And perhaps if you have any other suggestions about how we can bang the drum in the right quarters, we would really appreciate.
Yes, I mean, I think that where we have very much gone wrong as a country and as a society can be summed up in the famous quotation, "There is no such thing as society, only individuals." Now, I'm not even sure whether Mrs. Thatcher actually did say that, or whether that's what she meant, but the way in which that's been interpreted, that only individual wishes count, that has been very corrosive socially, and I think that we do have a great deal, to learn as a wider society from communities such as the Jains and Hindus living within and contributing powerfully to British society, and we have a lot to learn about social cohesion, the value of the extended family, the principle of cooperation, and cooperation is essential to good leadership. So what we have to learn about human relationships and leadership is the sort of subtle power in these philosophies. I mean, we're learning a lot economically from India, but we can learn a vast amount spiritually as well, so spiritual riches, if you like. And the basic principles of the Jain philosophy, non-violence, non-theft, which means non-exploitative relationships, as well as literally not stealing from other people, truthfulness, avoidance of promiscuity, that is, exploitative human relationships, and non-materialism, in other words, realizing that we're part of something larger than ourselves. We can't just take, we have to give back. These are very powerful lessons, and these are very powerful truths to live by, whatever our religious, political or philosophical perspective. Perhaps in a sense where our policymakers are rediscovering this through the idea of the big society, which is after all about communities cooperating. So ironically, the same party that is said to have come up with the phrase "there is no such thing as society" is now coming up with at least some ideas of cooperation, but that goes across the political spectrum as well. There's a huge amount we have to learn. We have to cooperate with each other better, and not only cooperate with each other as humans, but cooperate with our environment, work with the grain of nature rather than against it. And that is contained in the ancient wisdom of Jainism. I mean, long before green politics was thought of, there was the Jain idea of careful action, that each act that we make, each activity, has consequences.